let's talk the world of sport. And our friend of the show, it's Myk Aussie in Calgary. Hello, Myk.
Hey Jeff, how you going? Monday morning is fantastic to be alive and healthy, and yeah, I want to talk a little bit about individual players in sport versus team, and I sort of heard a bit about that in the AFL last week when it was like Judd versus Cousins, you know? Well, Isn't it team versus teams? I want to talk a bit about that, and AIDS in sport. Got a couple of interesting stories about the old Bee HIV Aids.
All right, away we go. Hey, and we'll also talk, get your take on we've had a lot of hoo-ha over the last couple of weeks about whether it should be okay to drink in AAMI Stadium in your seats, and you've got your own perspective on that as well. But yeah, the first, star players versus team.
Yeah, well, like I saw the publicity, the advertising going last week in the AFL, you know, Judd Blues versus Cousins of Tigers. Well, you know, that's the carryover from America over here. It's too much of it. It's always like Tom Brady, the New England Patriots versus Peyton Manning, the Colts. Like, isn't it team versus team? And that's why I want to talk a little bit about a quarterback situation in the NFL. My favourite team, the Denver Broncos, Jay Cutler is a stud quarterback. A new coach came in. He hasn't even coached a game. He came from New England. He tried to trade the star quarterback to get his guy in. A huge backlash. Now the star quarterback's basically said, screw the coach, I'm not going to turn up. He wants to trade. So it's kind of crazy how these quarterbacks have so much power. They're the key player, but it's team. It's a team game. But in this situation, I've called for the coach to be fired because he screwed up. He tried to trade the star quarterback to get his guy in that's only been playing for 1 year. So I'm a little bit disappointed how these players are getting so much individual attention when we all know it's a team game. Team players win, and great to see the young Crows obviously played as a great team, unexpected to win. So, you know, it drives me nuts a bit over here where these individual players who are making so much money are getting too much publicity and they have so much power.
Yep.
And Stav Rocker said it for the Eagles. He basically says that players in the NFL don't hang out as much as they do back in Australia. So it's getting a bit crazy and it's kind of driving me nuts in a way.
How are the Denver Broncos going, mate?
Oh, they've been good. They won the 2 Super Bowls back in the late 90s, and they've been going okay, but our defence is terrible. So now they're blaming the quarterback. Well, the quarterback's a young kid with a great arm, so our defence sucks. So it's not his fault. So let's hope that the owner, who's from Calgary, down in Denver, let's hope it gets sorted out, because it's a total mess, and it's making daily sports news over here. Jay Cutler, hope he stays, and Josh McDaniels, hope he goes back as the New England Patriots, and hope he serves popcorn to Tom Brady's girlfriend or wife, Giselle, the model. That's what I think of it.
So if it's been, you know, nearly 10 years since they've had any decent run at the Super Bowl, you know, could you blame the new coach for actually going, okay, now where's the weakness? Ah, okay, here's the star quarterback, supposedly. Why not trade him?
No, I don't agree, because we've got a great offense. The quarterback's been real good. He's been our best quarterback since Elway, and he's only in his second full year, and he made the Pro Bowl after his second full year. He's got a couple of great wide receivers. So the offense is on fire. It's our defense that is terrible. We can't stop the run. We've got 2 of the best cornerbacks, like halfback flanker type players. So our defense is terrible. So no, I'm totally on this. I think, and this is bizarre that I'm even saying this, because I think you should respect the coach no matter who you are. I think the coach needs to be fired for making the screw up in trying to trade him. It didn't happen, and now it's just a huge backlash.
Do you reckon this star player thing is anything new? I mean, think about the cricketing's Invincibles tour going way back. You know, I mean, who'd anyone talk about? Don Bradman, star of the team. You know, it's nothing new. Like, why is it a bad thing?
Well, I just think it's getting way out of hand over here, and they do it in the TV commercials. Like they say, they mention the player before the team. So, you know, coming from home where it's a team game, and one of the greatest teams I ever played for was the 92 South Gawler Lions Premiership up in the Barossa Valley. Yes. We had something like, out of 20 players, we had something like 12 to 14 guys that had played league football or reserves. And there was no stars. It was just a total team effort. and we went and beat all the other teams up there who had a lot of the ex-Woodville West Torrens guys up there, and Richard Anderson from Norwood. So there's a lot of star players up in the Barossa Valley in the early 90s, and we went and won because we were a team, and you just got to win with a good team, and you're seeing that now in the college basketball. The good teams are winning and beating the star players, and we saw it today where Blake Griffin, the top player in this NCAA college basketball, they got beaten today. So I'm just all about team.
All right. Now, AIDS in sport, mate.
Well, yeah, let's think about AIDS. I mean, 15 years ago, Magic Johnson went on TV and, star basketball player saying he had the AIDS virus, and actually Phil Smythe, one of your mates down there in Adelaide, he was one of the guys that absolutely kind of said, you know, I don't want to play against Magic because who knows, you know, I might get AIDS. Well, it was this big perception and a big sort of scary type.
Did Phil Smythe say that?
Back then.
Is that what Phil Smythe was saying? Was he saying he's too afraid to play against Magic Johnson because he might get AIDS?
Yeah, Phil Smythe was one of the main spokespeople against that. Now, I'm not saying whether that's good or bad, but he was definitely the guy in the Olympic Games that kind of spoke up, and he copped some backlash for it. Well, whether he's wrong or right, I'm not going to say that or not. Well, over here in the CFL, the Canadian Football League, 2 years ago, a guy called Travis Smith, he got in big trouble. He's actually in jail now. He was playing for Canadian Football League, and the thing is, he was known HIV carrier, and he was out in Saskatchewan, the city, and this is serious it sounds like, but the city is called Regina in Saskatchewan. He was out there, and he was having sex with quite a few girls. He got caught and he got put in jail for knowingly having the AIDS virus and having unprotected sex with a few ladies in Regina, which is awesome here. So, you know, how could anyone do that? So it's just a big perception. And the reason I'm talking about this is, I don't know, mate. It's kind of something that I was forced to do just recently. A lovely lady, very responsible, made me go and have a test, and Friday, I got the old HIV negative back. So it's, I've been fairly responsible, but we all, every now and then maybe slip up with a beautiful lady that we don't know her past and have unsafe sex. So, I got the old HIV beehive test back negative, so not worried, but it's kind of something if you got, it would be pretty hard to deal with.
It's a new world. It's a scary new world, unfortunately. It used to be the thing, if it's not on, it's not on. Now it's not on until you've got a bit of paper to prove you're clean.
Well, you know what? And the reason I want to talk about this, because there's a lot of late night listeners out there, and I'm sure there's guys and girls who've been involved in, you start off safe sex, and after a few weeks you lapse on it. Well, you still don't know their past. Then you split up a few weeks later. Well, in a way, that's more unsafe than having casual sex, making sure you wrap it up all the time. And the other reason I'm saying is because I've lived in Canada 11 years now. I've seen a lot of young gun-ho stud Aussies come across here and play football, thinking they're great. And it's just irresponsible how guys still in their younger age coming across here to Canada, thinking they're great with women, and they openly admit that they don't wrap it up. So guys got to get more responsible. Women especially got to get way more responsible, because it's obvious it's easier for a woman to get it from a guy than a guy is from a woman. So just the young kids got to wrap it up and be really responsible, because there's millions and millions of people with this beehive AIDS virus, and they don't even know they've got it.
Yeah, it's scary stuff, and they reckon the AIDS rates are going up because people, it's become part of the background. It's been a long time since we had those Grim Reaper ads on TV, and we seem to have kind of forgotten about it, moved on to other things. It's a good point.
Well, yeah, and I did a bit of research. It's a hype. There was a guy I played with at Woodville, Scotty Parsons. He was a doctor, and he says, Myk, there's way more chance of you getting the other diseases, the syphilis, the herpes, all that. You've got to wrap it up for that reason more so than the AIDS. So, yeah, it's not as easy to get as everyone probably thinks, but still, it's It's something that the young kids got to get really responsible, and especially the women out there. And then, you know what? I do admit, casual sex is happening way more in Australia than it is over here. So the Aussies got to just wake up and, you know, be responsible, because, you know, it's a bad thing.
Well,
and
it can be a death
you know,
sentence.
you can live with it. You can live with it for 20 years now. You need $25,000 US to get the medication, but how could you mentally live with it? I mean, I can't understand how anyone could go and have sex with a lady knowing they have the HIV virus. So
wrong in the head.
Kids got to wake up, and older people as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other thing is, we had a lot of hoo-ha about whether it's okay to drink in the seats at Amy Stadium. A lot of people thought it'd basically lead to public brawling and yobs and yahoos throwing beer all over each other, and people saying, hey, if you don't have, you know, geez, you can't have a good time without having beer. You've got a serious drinking problem going on. Now, you've spent a lot of time in Canada and the US. Can you drink in sporting stadiums there?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm thinking back now, Amy Stadium's probably the only place that I know of that you can't. So, yeah, over here you're allowed to get 2 beers at a time. So they sell tickets and you grab 2 beers, you take them back to your seat. And, yeah, there's a few yahoos get over here, because especially in the Canadian Football League, which I absolutely love, as you know, it's summertime, right? So there's, there's 20,000 hardcore fans. There's another 10,000 fans that just go to enjoy the beautiful sunshine and the tailgate parties. So yeah, there's quite a few people get hammered at the football over here, but the cops are brutal. Like, you can't even fart without getting kicked out sometimes. And over in Pamela Anderson's BC Place in Vancouver, that's brutal. Like, the security guards that walk around their little walkie-talkies, you know, they're getting paid $10 an hour, and they think they're cops, you know. So it gets out of hand over here. Same in Toronto as well. So, but yeah, you can drink in every stadium I know here. In the hockey as well, you can drink. So America, you can drink at the NFL, but you know, it's kind of like a 2-beer limit at once, which I believe is the same thing over there in Melbourne at the AFL.
Yeah, I think it's 4 here, but geez, you'd have to be a pretty, cheap drunk to get off your face on 4. Now, geez, we've covered the whole thing: booze, AIDS, but now cocaine and stuff going on in sport. Is it rife?
Wow, look at Benny Cousins, obviously the big story with him, and you know, he was on the cocaine and, allegedly the crack and the crystal meth as well, right, allegedly. So, you know, crack's just a pure form of cocaine, and it's a horrible addiction that, you know, I've seen over here more so than Australia, and like I said, a few boys from Perth here kind of knew it was common knowledge out there with the Eagles. They were on some crazy stuff. So, yeah, the trouble is with that, and the trouble is with Benny Cousins, I really do wish him all the best. He's out now for a month, so he's probably depressed. But the trouble is with his cocaine and his crack addiction, you see people, they'll go for a year or 2, but it's kind of always mentally and physically in their system. It's a horrible, addictive drug, and, I really hope Benny Cousins does well, but you got to think in 5 or 10 years' time, when guys like that have finished playing football, it's so tempting for them to get back on it. And once these people start on this crack, which is pure cocaine, they can't stop, and they just go and they spend $400, $500, $600 in a night, and then they're just screwed. And the next day they're suicidal, and it's a horrible addiction. So anyone out there, just don't even try this cocaine. Yeah, it's kind of trendy. Wayne Carey was on it. It's a terrible drug, and I see some young kids coming over here to Canada, trying it, thinking they're great, but nah, keep right away from it. It's bad, bad news.
Good advice, as always, from Myk Aussie. Now, what's on the website, mykaussie.com, Myk?
Well, I think I might put this interview up so some people that haven't heard it might hear it. But, I wrote an extensive Aussie Rules Football column yesterday, spent hours on it, talked all about the AFL, about South Gawler Lions up there in the Barossa Valley. I'm sponsoring them this year for a silver sponsorship. All the best to them. Very proud club. Haven't won a premiership for a while, but they've had 33, one of the most all-time in Australia. Talked a lot about the Aussie football over here, because the BC footy in Vancouver started on Saturday. My old team, the Burnaby Eagles, had a win. There's one of the newer teams had a win as well. There's 5 teams out there, so extensive Aussie rules footy and a bit about the women's team here as well. So it's all started and we still got 6 inches of snow on the ground here, so we can't even get outside to train yet. So
I love that.
I feel like going back to Vancouver, Jeff.
Thank you, Myk. Hey, I'll catch you next week.
All right, good luck to the Crows this week against the Saints. Hey, see you later.
Terrific. And look, worth checking out the website, mykaussie.com. There's a link through the Jeff Burzacott page at 5AA.com.au. Just look for friends of the show.